Hey guys, what is going on in Iceland? The whole thing is rumbling. The whole island is rumbling. And I'm introducing today's co-host, Eddie. And he's like, nope. He's just taking a sleep. Okay, he's not working, I'm working. So while he's sleeping, hopefully it's going to be a little bit more interesting for you, Eddie, and maybe Rudi wants to join us later on. So while you guys are relaxing, let's talk about all these earthquake swarms that are happening all over the island in Iceland. And they are in the higher ranges, but there's other stuff too. Grindavik might go bankrupt in 2025. And then officials are saying, Ulfa Ludvigsen, the police chief of Sudurns, is basically unfit to do his job. Why? So are they going against him? I'm just telling you, this is in connection with the accident that happened in January when this crack opened and a worker fell in and vanished and lost his life. So interesting stuff that is happening. There's people in Grindavik that are still in limbo, haven't found housing. They want to extend the deadline for the government buyout. Lots of things going on as we mark the 1 year boundary of when the events started on November 10th with the first massive magma intrusion, with these massive earthquakes that really did the most destruction in the little town of Grindavik. And we all know what happened since then. And we're waiting for the next event that could happen as early as like in a week or two, or maybe towards the end of November. They're not sure yet, but we know this volcano is always good for a surprise. But let's start with where the earthquakes are located in Iceland. So you see the map here, that's the whole country. And the colors don't tell us anything about the magnitude. The colors only tell us how long ago these earthquakes happened. So everything right now that is red, that is the most recent one you see. That's Monday Icelandic time. But wow, Saturday, Sunday, the light blue and the blue ones, and also the yellow ones, you see the clusters of earthquakes that are also going in the 3 range and in above the 3 range. And you see here, that's the Reykjanes Peninsula, but you also see that big white area where there's lots of earthquakes. So we will have a closer look into this. What does that mean? And let's blend in a picture with where you see where the North Atlantic Ridge is basically going. That's the rift zone that's tearing Iceland apart, so to speak. It's where 2 tectonic plates are moving away from each other. So not underneath each other or alongside each other. They're moving away from each other and basically making room for magma to come to the surface because they're tearing everything apart. And that's basically why we see so much activity once in a while. But now it's really enlarged if you look at this map. So scientists are wondering what's the reason for this. And I want to look at 2 areas. One is the Reykjanes Peninsula, and the other one is the white dot here where we have Vatnajökull, Bardarbunga, and also Askja in that area. So let's start with the Reykjanes Peninsula. We know, if you look at that map here, also Saturday was quite a little bit of rumbling. And we know the magma chamber underneath Svartsengi, where the Blue Lagoon and the power plant is located, is filling up again. And of course, if something's filling up again, that is putting stress on the surface, putting stress on the caprock layers. And this could be the reason why we see some rumbling there. And also in other areas, if we look at the Reykjanes Ridge towards Elde in the water. Elde is basically just a rocky island where there's some actually protected species or nice species of rare birds, but that's all there is. But that's also along this rift zone. So is the land rise in Svartsengi responsible for this? Does it have that much power to put that much pressure on the surface so far away in areas like this? Who knows? let's also have a quick look at Vatnajökull. You see the earthquakes there. There you see higher earthquakes above 2, reaching 3, Saturday, Sunday. And the views that you're seeing, that's Vancouver. And for the ones of you who wonder why I am in Vancouver and not back on the farm, check out my membership area. I have just released a video that explains I'm kind of stuck in Vancouver because I had a little bit of a frightening thing happening with my car. So if you're a member of my channel, check out that video or become a member of my channel, guys. So you will see a lot of behind the scene information. So for now, my co-host and I, we're stuck in Vancouver, and that's what you're seeing behind me. So increased activity at several locations in Iceland, and over the weekend, we can say you've seen the earthquake maps. There has been quite an increase in the earthquakes, and over 245 tremors so far were recorded within the last 2 days. And what is kind of interesting, I don't want to say scary yet, is that the earthquakes are becoming more frequent in regions where there has already been seismic activity in the recent days and weeks. So is something going on underneath the surface? Do we need to be worried? There's one earthquake swarm that we should focus on a little bit more. It's very intense, and that is south of an area that's called vedur.is. We have already seen over 62 earthquakes, and new ones are still coming in this area. And the strongest tremor there so far was 2.8 magnitude and at a depth of roughly 6.5 kilometers. So 2.8, if you're watching my channel on a regular basis, you know, for that volcanic activity, that could tell us something. Something could be going on. So Eddie, be on the lookout, right? He doesn't care. But we had an earthquake off the coast of Vancouver a few weeks ago. I think it was a 3.9 or something. I was sitting on that couch and it felt like the couch is lifting me up with everything. Check out the video. It's also in my playlist on my channel. So these earthquakes, even if they're in the lower ranges, they mean something. They can be felt. So 2.8, yeah, is something rumbling underneath? Is magma on its way? Is it trying to reach the surface? But where is it coming from? What is it? So we don't know. We can only really speculate at the moment. But although we're speculating, something must cause this swarm. We know that there is Askja, and Askja is a crater, a volcano that could cause a very dangerous explosive eruption. And we know that scientists have warned, especially at times where tourists are in that area, they have to walk from a parking lot and to a lake and look at everything. If Askja explodes, they can't outrun this. So that's why it's a dangerous area. So the earthquake swarm was not really on top of Askja or super close to Askja, but what about a magma body that did send out magma that didn't make it to the surface? So a magma intrusion that maybe was originating from underneath Askja. It cannot be ruled out that the magma was on its way to vedur.is and that this is somehow linked to this central volcano there. We know from the Magma Chamber underneath Sortsangi about a year ago, we had that massive magma intrusion, magma going out because the pressure was too high in the magma chamber underneath Sortsangi. Magma was grinding its way towards Grindavik and then underneath Grindavik into the sea over like a 15-kilometer long magma dike was formed. It's an intrusion when no magma reaches the surface and erupts. But still, magma is traveling. And of course, that is grinding new pathways, tunnels. That's why we see earthquakes along where this underground mining magma is trying to build new highways where it can flow. Because, why is this an interesting theory that it is connected to Askja? Because they did detect land rise at Askja. So did that magma chamber underneath Askja reach the point of maximum elasticity and send something out? It's speculation, right? But what we know, and that kind of supports this theory, because also in Svartsengi, once the magma intrusion happened, the land rise stopped, or we even saw it subside because the magma chamber was emptying out. And the same thing here at Askja. Askja did show land rise, something filling up. And then when we saw that rumbling over the weekend, now it shows a subsidence. So did some magma chamber there send something out on its way? The data kind of supports this. But at the current stage, there's weather, we have winter, there's storm, there's rain, there might be snow. We cannot say if that is really the case, that the land is subsiding, or that it's just a measurement anomaly. So we have to wait a few more days. What is actually happening there? Gather more data, and then maybe there is a more, I don't want to say significant, but a more secure explanation or conclusion than we can make right now. A number of these earthquakes have been recorded right underneath Askja. So it all fits together. So magma could have easily, traveled to vedur.is. And let's have a look at this big white place that you see when you look at Iceland. It's glaciers. The Vatnajökull area, there's Bardarbunga, Grímsvatn. Earthquakes have occurred underneath these subglacial volcanoes. They're covered with ice. And they have also recorded that the land is rising there. So something's also going on there. And the land has been rising quite substantially. So it has reached a land rise of 6 centimeters in October. But same problem there. There could be problems with the measuring systems because of the harsh weather there. It's winter, storms, rain, snow affects these sensible instruments. So we also, I think, have to wait what it means. But what we definitely see is there's earthquakes. But of course, speculations are out. Is there an impending eruption in this area at Grímsvatn? Vatnajökull area. Bardarbunga has been acting up for several months with higher earthquakes. I mean, we have over 45 tremors in the last 2 days all over Iceland. And the magnitude, the most tremors, earthquakes that happened in Iceland have actually been in this Vatnajökull area, including Askja, vedur.is, and Bardarbunga and stuff. So we have around 120 earthquakes in that area alone, guys. So are several volcanoes waking up and getting ready to explode? Will we see like simultaneous eruptions in Iceland? Well, hopefully not. And again, let's have a look back at where our focus lies. Grindavik, the Reykjanes Peninsula, the Sutnuka crater series, and the magma chamber underneath the Blue Lagoon, and the Svartsengi power plant, where the land is rising, where it has reached levels where something can happen in the next few days, in the next few weeks. So let's look at this Reykjanes Ridge picture again. There was quite a strong earthquake that has occurred at an epicenter 340 kilometers southwest of Grindavik, far away, but as we know, there is this ridge that separates two tectonic plates, and it was a 4.5 magnitude, so significant. most of the time, the Icelandic Meteorological Office says, yeah, this is in the range of, it's still normal because there's lots of tensions along that mid-Atlantic and the North Atlantic ridge that is basically crossing through Iceland. By moving away, that tension could, of course, always trigger seismic activity. But that combined with the whole country, what has been going on, is a little bit, you might want to scratch your head or at least raise your attention level a little bit and thinking, okay, what's going on there? Because numerous earthquakes appeared also in the Reykjanes region. So the strongest quake that we saw there had a magnitude of 3.0. So that is higher, right? Usually we see these earthquakes shortly before we see an eruption or an intrusion. It was at a depth of 8.3 kilometers. And good thing was the epicenter was also off the coast at the basically southwestern tip of the Reykjanes Peninsula, 5.8 kilometers northeast of that LD rock. So also can still be connected to that rift zone. But it was significant until now. It's almost like 70 earthquakes that are also happening there. So that's why I said at the beginning of the video, is this related to tensions rising in the subsurface because the magma chamber underneath Svartsengi is swelling up? Does that really have such a widespread effect? It is definitely possible, but at the current stage, we only can observe. We have to wait and see. There is no possibility to make any significant prediction. So, but while everyone's waiting for the next eruption, we know that about a week ago, Grindavik has been reopened for everyone. The closing posts have been removed. The barriers have been removed. People can go in there freely. Tourists can come. They have fenced off the most dangerous areas. They have filled some cracks in the road. The police chief, Ulfa Ludvigsen, seems not to be too happy. He says we need to put up signs, especially for the people that don't live there, that might not be so aware of the danger. I don't think he's in favor of this being like a tourist magnet, although the restaurants and the stores in town want that to happen because they need to survive. If the people don't live in that town, people left the town to live somewhere else, only a few people might be back living there, and some workers in the fish processing plants. Of course, if the restaurants want to stay open and make business, they need the tourists. So Ulfa Ludvigsen keeps giving warnings continuously. And in light of that, he's been a little bit in the spotlight right now. We know that on January 10th, the worker was lost when he was falling into a crack that he was filling up, and he thought he was already done filling up the crack. And it was a little bit of a mystery what really had happened, because he fell in there while he was compacting the material that he filled the crack with. His co-worker had left him alone to get something else. There was no gear that would protect him. He was not attached to any big excavator or machine that would secure him. It seems that exactly on that day, some equipment was broken. They had to bring in another machine. So a lot of coincidences that made this more dangerous. And of course, there's investigations ongoing. The family, the brother of Ludvig Pettersson, wants this brought to light because they say there was some kind of negligence and it could have been prevented. And the state prosecutor kind of is considering whether to pull the police from that case, whether the police is qualified to investigate that incident, or if the police is incompetent. And that especially relates to the police chief of Suðurnes. Is he incompetent to investigate this fatal accident that happened in Grindavik on January 10th of this year? The police chief has confirmed that he has received a message where this has been brought to his attention. So Ulfa Ludvigsen has said in a newspaper article today that there is a matter with the state prosecutor where the competence of the police chief to investigate this case is called into question, but the conclusion is unknown. So he says that message comes even from two other people who are also under investigation for this accident at work. And he says, in his opinion, his office is not incompetent to investigate that accident. And I don't know, guys, what do you think? I mean, he's local. He knows that town. He knows the cracks. He knows everything. I always thought he's a good guy and a very reasonable guy. And he's always been very protective of people and the town. He didn't even want the town reopened many times before. And then he got pressure from residents and businesses that even filed a lawsuit, and he was basically forced to reopen Grindavik. So he was always very, very careful and responsible. So it seems that police can declare themselves unable or incompetent to investigate some cases. That's the law. But according to the law, it is the duty of the police to investigate work accidents. That's their responsibility. But sometimes it can happen that this ability is under question if the police is really able to investigate such cases. Police Chief Olfa Ludvigsson says he has experience basically by declaring himself unable to investigate a case, but he does not consider himself incompetent right now to investigate this tragic work accident. So he disagrees with that. The problem here is that they kind of want an independent study, because the worker that was filling that crack was basically hired, his company was hired by the natural disaster insurance to fill in these cracks and repair the town. And the civil defense was also involved, and the rescue teams, and somehow also the police. And I have made a video about the report that came out from the investigation that the labor inspectorate has already submitted. So it has been reported in the media that the family of the victim, Ludvig Pettersson, has requested that there should be an independent investigation that looks into this incident. So they probably don't want people from the town that were involved with securing the areas. That includes the police chief of Sudorns, the civil defense, the company that conducted this. So they want someone else to do this. But the family made clear that they're not the ones that want the police chief out. That was important to them. They made that clear. So, and what about Grindavik? It just came out today that Grindavik could go bankrupt. I mean, it's no surprise. If people move away and it basically turns in some kind of ghost town, where is the money coming from? How is this municipality creating an income? So right now, the financial situation for Grindavik is difficult, and the outlook is dire for next year. So, of course, the chairman of the Grindavik committee says there's a big uncertainty about the income that the municipality could create, and the income is decreasing because the number of legal residents has decreased significantly. Residents that have registered residences in Grindavik. So about 60% of all residents of Grindavik have moved their legal domicile to another place since the incident happened in November last year. So the local government revenues that would be created from these residents have, of course, fallen accordingly. And then next year, they even expect a further decline. They're not getting property taxes, real estate taxes right now, basically because the government, the company Thokatla that the government has formed to buy out these properties, has bought the homes, and they don't pay property taxes at all. So guys, that was my latest update. I'll monitor the earthquakes. If more is about to happen, of course, I will let you know. So thanks for the great support you're giving my channel, for the supers you're giving me here. Thank you so much for the coffees you keep buying me on my buymeacoffee.com site. Register there for free. The link is in the description of this video. And if you're watching my videos more often, become a member of this channel. So let's share some videos and thoughts behind the scenes. Check out the playlist. I have a playlist on my channel page only for my members, and join us, become a member of this channel. I would love to meet you here. So either you see the join button underneath this video or just click the link in the description of this video. So thanks guys, stay safe, more to come very, very soon. Bye bye.